All right, everyone, Jeff here at StopThePirates.blogspot.com. So let's talk about what a crime is here on the U.S. slave plantation. A crime, a positive or negative act in violation of penal law, an offense against the state or the United States. They're the plaintiff in any court case now. And it used to be where you would have to press charges. I don't know if anybody remembers that. Cops would come and, somebody got in a fight. Do you want to press charges on this person? Now they don't do that anymore. If the cops come out, someone's going to jail, someone's getting arrested, someone's getting a ticket. That's just the way it is. The O.J. Simpson trial brought all this into fruition. That was the whole thing was about. Remember that the state and the United States are fictions, and so how can you damage a fiction? You're supposed to be able to face your accuser. And there has to be, in order for there to be a crime, there has to be an injured party. Well, who's the injured party? Well, the United States corporation or the state of whatever is injured because if you kill somebody and the plaintiff in the court case is going to be the United States versus your corporate fiction, your name in all capital letters, your person. So don't take it personal. It's their personal property, just to look at it that way. So it's you have this. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for folks to understand. You have this persona, which is your name in all capital letters. It's not you, but you think it's you, but it's not. It's a corporate fiction set up at your birth. And based on actuarial tables over your lifetime, they figure you're going to pay a certain amount of money into for the bankruptcy of the United States bankrupt corporation, and they issue bonds on those figures, and those bonds are insured. Okay, and then another part of it too is that when they set these Sussex trusts up, the entity is pronounced dead. You have a death, so it goes into probate. And when an estate goes into probate, people who, the books are open, you have an unlimited amount of credit. So anybody can come in and say, well, this person owes me this amount of money for this. And so anyway, if you look at what's called tort, from the Latin, torquere, to twist, tortoise, twisted, wrestled aside. It's a private or civil wrong or injury, including action for bad faith breach of contract, for which the court will provide a remedy in the form of an action for damages. A legal wrong committed upon the person or property independent of contract. It may be either one, a direct invasion of some legal right of the individual, or two, the infraction of some public duty by which special damage accrues to the individual. Three, the violation of some private obligation by which like damage accrues to the individual. Notice that a crime is an act against the state, but a tort is an act against an individual. So if you murder someone, how is that a crime against the state? Please note that when you are charged with any offense, you are charged with violating a code or statute, not for violating the individual. The reason this is being done is because the state claims to own you. So if you kill someone, it is the state that has been damaged because they bought you when you were born, or you were donated by your mother. She handed you over to a bankrupt corporation as a pauper, someone with no money or no, and like you can do now, I guess you can just, if you don't have you're pregnant, you can just drop your kid off at a fire station and drive away and they won't say anything. Why not? It's money to them. But yeah, if you look at your birth certificate, your mother signs with her maiden name. So she's unmarried, no money, and she is listed as the informant. It says mother or other informant. The reason this is being done is because the state claims to own you. So if you kill someone, it is the state that has been damaged. Yeah, because they purchased you when you're born and they paid all this money for you to go to their 12 years of debtor training. And mind control and, rah, United States of America, and they're going to use you to either go fight one of their foreign wars because you think you're being attacked by some outside source, outside country, which really isn't any, or you're just going to be put into debt slavery for the rest of your life and get a job and take your vaccines and die, because the bonds that they're issued at your birth are insured, and when they eliminate the debtor, they eliminate the debt, and that's what's happening right now with everything that's going on. It's a culling, and all companies do this. It's called an exit strategy, and they've loaded so much debt onto the backs of the U.S. debt slaves that it'll never be paid off. But what they can do is once start killing people off, and look how many people are retiring now and they want their Social Security check. And these people are going to be the first ones to get whacked. And I'm sorry to talk like that, but it's just, it's nothing personal, it's just business. What else? It's funny here in the LA area. I monitor the state propaganda channels, and they're just like, don't go anywhere tonight. Don't get together. The police are going to be everywhere looking for, they call it a super spreader event. They're going to be out there, be scared. You're not scared enough. Get more scared. Meanwhile, I saw this guy on the hospitals are just completely full and overrun. There's zero capacity left. This guy in LA on BitChute, I forget what it was, but he's going around all the hospitals. I mean, like in some of the poorer neighborhoods, like, Echo Park, Compton, whatever, and he's going around all these hospitals and filming it, and there's nothing going on. Nothing. He asked this one security guard standing outside, he goes, hey man, are you guys completely packed in? He goes, oh, no, there's nothing going on. So just know that it's all lies. The reason the courts are set up and were set up, and this goes back to the War of 1812, is that when the U.S. failed to reestablish the Bank of the United States, which was mostly people that owned it were foreigners, foreign bankers. They sent in the British troops back in to burn down the White House and take over all of the securities and the sureties and set up their bar attorney out of the Temple Bar out of the inner city of London. It's what they do all over the whole world when you go bankrupt and you don't pay them. They bring in their attorneys and they set up their courts, which are basically pirate ships in dry dock. They're foreign corporations in dry dock, and they're here to extract everything. That's why there's so many laws, and there's like 8. I mean, people have lost count. There's more every year. There's like 8 million statutes and codes on the books. Everything is illegal. You have to get permission to do anything. That's what a license is. A license is permission to do something that would otherwise be considered illegal, like getting married. You can't do that because you're a slave, and you want a license. So when you get married and have children, the state owns your children because you're bringing them into the union, into the corporate merger, basically. This is interesting here. A bank is a capacitor. Where do you find banks? You find banks on the sides of river banks, right? And what do? They direct the flow of the currency. A check or money order, etc., are the symbol which represents the electrons. You look at the definition of money in the UCC. A loan is actually a procedure that is done to cause electrons to enter into the circuit. The check that you receive from a bank is the symbol of the electrons that have been put into a capacitor, an account, in your name. This is accomplished by a few keystrokes on a computer keyboard. That's all it is, folks. There's no money. It's just the charge. Electrons are transferred from account to an account, capacitor to capacitor, when a good or service is transmitted. This is done either by wire or satellite. See electronic fund transfer in Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. Remember, an electron is both a wave and a particle. The system must never be allowed to become balanced. There has to always be a debt, something owed, in order for the electrons to flow. If electrons were not removed from the circuit, the capacitor would all become equally charged and all the commerce would cease. If the capacitors were all equal and the circuit was balanced, how could one capacitor discharge into another? The Internal Revenue Service withdraws electrons from the circuit by way of what is called an income tax. Income is the electrons that have flowed into the circuit. There are other ways that remove electrons, but this is the most noticeable. There has to be a load on the system in order for the electrons to flow. This must be done in order to allow commerce to flow. A debt can never be paid. A debt can only be discharged. The circuit can be controlled by changing the force, current, or resistance. Your labor is actually dissipated. The harder the people labor, the more electrons they remove from the circuit. There becomes too many electrons in the circuit for the amount of goods and services consumed. So taxes must be raised, or in other words, the load must be increased. When they tell you that the economy is expanding, it means that the circuit is getting larger. Notice that when they tell you the economy is expanding, that most people are working harder and their standard of living is dropping. Now, what do the electrons symbolize? People exist by symbols. Everything is, this fictional world symbolizes something else. Those who refuse to bow to the IRS are in actuality keeping those who do alive. Those who bow to the IRS are destroying themselves. If we do not send electrons to the bank and the IRS, this ultimate system of control will come crashing to the ground. In the present situation, the people's standard of living can only go down. Both parents now must labor in order to survive. Any variable in the system can modify it. One who is skilled in the art of controlling the circuit is called an economist. It is impossible for the mass of people to be paranoid. Paranoia is defined as a heightened sense of awareness. People are not even at the level of being aware, let alone paranoid. They, the mass of people, have their voltage, their thoughts supplied to them. How can you be aware when your entire life you have never had a thought? That's so true. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there and say, Happy New Year to everybody. Congratulations, you made it. And hopefully things will get better, but I don't see it on the horizon at this point. I think the best thing you could do is get out of the system and maybe even get out of the country. I mean, that's what I'm planning on doing. I'm going to be a Mexican this time next year. So hasta luego, people. And yeah, Happy New Year.